Calling to order the Rutherford County Library System Board meeting. So this is March 16th. This is our March meeting. It is 1 minute after 5. And we could begin with our, we're going to begin with our roll call. So we'll call the roll.
Present. Johnny Curtis.
Present.
Beth Buckle. Present. Angela Frederick. Present. Sam Huddleston.
Present.
Gina Piazza.
Present.
Susan Rosenberry.
Present.
Lynn Reynolds. Darrell Thomas.
Present.
Jeffrey Weinstein.
Present.
Present, and if the minutes could reflect that Lynn has stepped in. All right, and we, here in our welcome period, I'm going to take this and move an agenda item up here. We've got someone, a special guest that would like to make a presentation. So as long as there's no objection, we will move agenda item 9 under new business, the presentation from the DAR. So we'll move that, we'll take that up right now. If you wouldn't mind joining us. And if you would, just stand behind this podium, and as long as you're close around it, and they'll be able to hear you just as long as you're around it.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Elaine Alexander. I'm with the Rutherford chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. In celebration of our 250th anniversary this year, 2026, we're celebrating from 1776. We have created a poster with 4 important Rutherford County citizens, or people close to Rutherford County, who were Revolutionary War patriots. General Griffith Rutherford, after whom Rutherford County is named, although he never was in Rutherford County. Captain William Lytle, who donated our land to begin Murfreesboro, Pearl Harbor Murfree, and Murfreesboro's name, and Peter Jennings, a Becker, who freed black men, who fought with General Washington, and from Connecticut, first Rhode Island Regiment, who lived here before the end of his life, and had a factory on Church Street. We have this for every public library and all Rutherford County schools that already received theirs, and we're going to take them to all the Murfreesboro city schools.
Thank you. All right. So now moving to our public comment. Before we begin public comment, I want to remind everyone that this is a meeting of a governing body overseeing the Rutherford County Library System. And we're glad to have everyone here. And you are here as observers, not as participants. So there will be some of you, there's 10 people who signed up to have public comment. So they will come forward and they will have their opportunity to speak and for the board to hear them, after which they will return to their seat. I'm going to ask that all of us maintain the appropriate decorum that comes with a public meeting. So if you would, please refrain from yelling out, or booing, or hissing, or whatever that you may feel like you want to do. Let's remind ourselves that this is a meeting of the governing body of our library system. So, all right.
The first part is the speaker for the items on the agenda, Ryan Cartley. Mr. Ryan.
Yes. And then maybe the next one, just to have
The
you
next
be ready.
one is Colin Williamson.
So if you can be ready to come up, Tom. And you will have 3 minutes, and the counter will be right there. You can begin.
They say we die twice. Once when we breathe our last breath, and again when our stories are spoken for the last time. It's easy to talk about libraries, like they're just inventories, but that misses the profound reality of what a people's library represents. A final resting place for our stories. Within Judy Blume's pages lies a monument to the girls who inspired her, the women they became, despite cultures that feed on shame. Within Toni Morrison's pages lies a testament to the pain of a childhood friend who prayed for blue eyes in a world that scorned her dark skin. Within the Laramie Project lies the body of the boy before the crime of being gay was beaten and left to die on a frozen, burned fence. And in Warren Binford's pages, hear a requiem for humanity, sung by children in ICE custody while they rock each other to sleep. These stories were written in memory of people who were violated, segregated, and silenced. They were written by people who walked through fire to light the way for all who've been abandoned. Their voices whisper through time and space, we were worthy of love. Of a mother's love, of a father's love, of God's love. Hear this? So are you. You've been told you are shielding kids from ideology and propaganda. But if you have ever loved someone, in spite of their differences or because of them, then take the scales from your eyes. Censorship does not build sanctuaries, it desecrates them. When you strip these stories from the shelves, you are toppling the gravestones of someone's loved ones. You are shattering their lives. You are dimming their life away. Let their stories stay. Let their spirits speak.
Thank you.
Good evening. I've come before you tonight to apologize. I imagine this might be the first time anyone has ever stepped to this podium to say that, but it's true. I owe one of the members of this board a sincere apology. You may remember when I spoke to you last month that I shared with you my love for the Chronicles of Narnia. I read those books every time I had the chance, with one exception. My junior year of high school, when my English teacher did the absolute coolest thing of her teaching career and gave us the Narnia books as a reading assignment. I knew I could ace those reading quizzes whether I read the books or not, and so I didn't read them. Even worse, I lied about it. So, Ms. Allison, I'm here tonight to ask you for your forgiveness. Thank you. Now, Pastor York, now that I've removed the speck from my eye, I'd like to address the massive plank in yours. You've routinely lied to your community and your fellow board members. You've said that these book bans are necessary to comply with state and federal law. You've said that you're complying with orders from the Secretary of State. You've said that if these books remain on shelves, the library may lose funding. All of those are lies. There are no applicable state or federal laws. Every time you've been asked what law you're referring to, you mention an executive order. Even you have acknowledged that executive orders are not law. And last time I checked, this board isn't an agent of the federal government, and therefore is not required to follow an executive order. To refute the other points, I'll just let Secretary Hargett do the talking. He said he doubts any books will be removed in this process. He said we have no intention of withholding money from any library. Zero intention of withholding money from a library. He even said this: we asked these libraries to do this. Asked. We can't force them to do it. I guess technically we could, but we asked them. We said please twice. We asked them to complete it by a certain date. We never ordered. We never directed. We never said shall. We never said must. All of that makes it sound an awful lot like you don't have to do this. You want us to believe that you're a bystander following orders when you're clearly the architect of this absurdity. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure lying is a sin. Exodus 20:16 says, "Thou shalt not bear false witness unless it's in pursuit of the Christian nationalist agenda. Then all bets are off." Oh wait, it doesn't say that last part at all. So, Mr. York, are you ready to confess your sins and apologize? No? I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised. My question for all of you is this: if Jesus didn't come to condemn the world, why would you think he wants you to?
Tiana Silvas, and next is Jeffrey Redler.
Tonight what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a letter into record. And before I do that, what I wanted to do is I wanted to read up the names of the organizations who have signed on to this. If you are a member of one of those organizations, we ask that you please stand. This letter was signed by the Tennessee Equality Project, the Tennessee Freedom to Read Project, the ACLU Tennessee, Authors Against Book Bans, Rutherford County Library Alliance, the Spine Bookshop, Publisher Spotlight, Pastor Chris Warren of First Cumberland Presbyterian Church, Reverend John Bennett, Senator Heidi Campbell, Rutherford County Democrat Women, Crying Cat Books and Records, Murfreesboro Indivisible, Rutherford County Democrat Party, Murfreesboro Democratic Socialists of America, Rutherford County Young Democrats. Wow, that's a lot of people. I thought we were in the minority. We, the undersigned organizations and leaders, united by a shared belief in the principles enshrined in the First Amendment of the Constitution, oppose the removal of any books from the Rutherford County library system for their content on race, gender, or sexual orientation. We support listening to the professional opinions of trained librarians, rather than any personal views of certain board members, on the appropriateness of what books are on the shelves. Selectively removing books about LGBTQ+, trans and non-binary people, racial minorities, or historical content is a book ban, plain and simple, one that discriminates against communities our organizations serve. It censors free discussion of ideas and violates our values. As a taxpayer-funded public institution, Rutherford County Libraries must ensure the public right to access information. And that means that its leaders cannot remove books with diverse characters and viewpoints. Several of them critically acclaimed simply because they dislike the ideas and the challenges to long-standing hierarchies contained in those books. Our library shelves must accurately represent a breadth of history and literature, including books with discussion on race, gender, and sexual orientation. Not only are these subjects part of our everyday lives, but Rutherford County is home to many LGBTQ+, queer, trans, black, and brown people. Removing these books will only suppress viewpoints that violate fundamental American principles we hold dear by targeting and attempting to erase valuable lived experiences. As a community, we will not allow our bedrock civil liberties and First Amendment rights to be ignored. Reject these bans. The freedom to read is not negotiable. Thank you, guys.
Good evening. For months now, some of us, even over a year, have been coming here with the same message over and over again. We do not stand for these book bans. Call it book bans, call it book removals, whatever you want to call it, we don't want it. And as you have seen, month after month after month, the constituents of Rutherford County do not want this. Who has been turning out the most people to come to this podium? People who don't want this to happen. Who has been coming here in droves every month? People who don't want this to happen. I'm sure you will hear from a few people who do want it, but for the vast majority of people, it's that they don't want it. So I think that we should honor democracy, honor the fact that the majority of people do not want this, and let's stop. All we are doing now is dividing our community. And for the topic of book bans tonight, we have the lovely topic of gender confusion. I would love to hear what many people's definition of gender confusion is, as it's seemingly made up. I don't think any of you could define it, and at the end of the day, none of your book bans are going to change in anything. For generations, queer people and trans kids have existed. In the Samoan culture, they have a third gender called the Whakapine, a non-binary gender. And the Mesopotamian priests of ancient Mesopotamia often had an ambiguous gender. The Egyptians had a non-binary god. This is not new. Queer people are not new. This is something that's been happening and will continue to happen for a long time. It's part of our biology. You can't ban it away, no matter how much you want to monoculture. And at the end of the day, because everything y'all are doing is futile, all you're going to end up doing is dividing our community further down cultural rabbit holes. Things that don't matter. In a community where we have homeless people, in a community where people can't afford rent, in a community where people are struggling every single day, this board uses taxpayer dollars to continue to fund this ridiculous culture war garbage. Trans children and queer youth will continue to exist long after you guys vote tonight, after this month ends, after this board is dissolved, after this building disintegrates, after we're all dead and turned back into soil. These kids will still exist. The only thing that can change, based on tonight, is whether you choose a path of kindness, love, the acceptance of your neighbors, or if you choose a path of hatred, separation, and harm. So those are my wishes. Please vote no on any book bans. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next is Edward Schmidt.
Since I know scientific evidence is irrelevant to Mr. Norman's development banners, I've used it all the times. And since I know that he won't provide any justification for his goal of making books about trans people, because there is none, I'll tell you beyond Because he and his fellow book banners don't care if their religion only ever applies to them. We're going to talk about their nonsense like protecting children, starting with some examples. David Rogers, a 40-year-old worship pastor at Pleasant Grove Baptist Church in Owensboro, Kentucky, was charged with sexually abusing a child under 12. Heritage Christian Academy in Texas knowingly employed sex offender Caleb Crawford, the pastor's son, who was convicted and sentenced to 2 years in prison for sexually abusing a 12-year-old. A former Horn Lake, Mississippi music minister, Brett Taylor, was sentenced to 20 months in prison after pleading guilty to trying to send a sexually explicit photo to a child who was employed by the church at the time. Thomas Harper of Bentonville, Arkansas, who was openly anti-trans and a Trump supporter, was sentenced to 200 years in prison for 30 counts of possession of child pornography and for sexually abusing a 9-year-old. 30 prominent Republicans made the news in 2025 for crimes against children. That's not all. That's just the ones that made the news. Ventura County Councilman Jim Duran, founder of River Community Church, settled a lawsuit brought by a victim that his son sexually abused at Duran's church when the victim was a minor. Zachary Radcliffe, former youth director of Oakland Baptist Church in Augusta Township, Michigan, was charged with sex crimes against children. A total of 60 victims have come forward so far. He was employed as the youth director where the crimes were committed. His father is the lead pastor. The Southern Baptist Church that I grew up in had a secret list of over 700 sex abusers in their churches, and those are just the ones we know about. The Catholic Church has thousands. I've not even scratched the surface of the rampant sexual abuse of minors in churches and conservative spaces, all committed by anti-trans bigots. Not by trans or gay people, but by the ones trying to take the rights from the LGBTQIA+ community. This irrational vendetta is nothing but projection. Children are safe with gay and trans people and reading the books about them. They aren't safe in churches and conservative gatherings. The evidence of that is overwhelming. So we know that to protect kids' line is an absolute lie. But with the amount of projecting being done by our people here, I have to wonder what Cody York and Pastor Al Jackson and Caleb Tidwell from the school board are hiding. Because based on the trends among conservatives, it's utterly heinous.
Good evening. My name is Ed Smith. I'm a retired senior naval officer. I'm a retired corporate executive. And my wonderful wife and I moved to this area in 2020 during the midst of the ludicrous COVID lockdowns. But we love this area. It's a beautiful area. I've lived in 13 states. I've lived in 25 different cities. And we think this is a great place to be. I want to thank the board for allowing me to come up and speak tonight. And I want to thank the board, whether I agree with each of you or I disagree, because this is a difficult job. Mr. York, I think that you're doing a very good job. And I appreciate your work. You know, you're attacked on a continuing basis, and I'm sorry for that. I think it's unfortunate when we have speakers who come up that are rude or crude or threatening. And I think that that's really a situation of the heckler's veto, where by being loud and obnoxious, you can shut down what you don't like. I understand that the board has to set policy. The board has to decide where the money's going to be spent that you're allotted. It's not unlimited amount of funds. It's not unlimited space. This is not the Library of Congress. So there have to be guidelines on what you're going to have and what you're not going to have in the libraries. I think some of the books that are currently in the library are inappropriate. I think that some of them are actually pornographic. Books such as Making a Baby or books such as the Everybody book are inappropriate. Having illustrations and in-depth descriptions of sex, whether it's heterosexual, gay, how to become transgender, how to move into a different sex, I think those are inappropriate. I think it's pornographic. I would support having those books taken out of the library. At the same time, if the board decides to it's a difficult situation. You guys have some difficult decisions to make, and it's very limited on what you can do. So thank you very much for this time.
Thank you.
And then next is Matthew Giffen.
Hello, my name is Samantha Johnson. I would like to start by saying I will be sharing information that is not appropriate for children or possibly anyone who has triggers in regard to child sexual abuse. First, I think it is relevant to share from the childsafety.gov website under the title, How Grooming Occurs, as it explains what happened to me as sexualization, which is defined as this. Perpetrators may gradually introduce sexualized content or discussions to a child or young person in order to normalize this behavior. They will often then exploit this child to encourage or coerce the child to engage in sexual activity, produce child sexual abuse imagery, or participate in sexualized in-person or virtual chats. This behavior may escalate slowly or quickly. Growing up, I was sexually abused by my step-grandfather beginning at the age of 4. One of the ways that he attempted to desensitize me and get me comfortable with sexual acts with him was by showing me pornographic cartoons, then pictures of naked people, and eventually pictures of people engaging in sexual acts, all from published sources. This was the beginning of many years of abuse that left me so confused and lost. I hated my body because I had no control over it, and I hated myself because I felt complicit. Later in my life, this early sexualization had me extremely confused on what was right and wrong, and what was safe and what was not. It left me with the inability to say the word no. I didn't understand that this wasn't normal, that it was abuse, and that it didn't happen to everyone. I began experimenting with any drug put in my path, completely confused about my sexuality, and I didn't say no to much. I have survived a lot, and am now a wife to a wonderful man and mother to 2 beautiful boys. I think Corrie ten Boom's father explained how we are to protect our children very well in her book, The Hiding Place. I'll paraphrase for time's sake. Corrie heard the word sex and sin put together, and so she asked, Father, what is sex sin? He stood up, lifted his traveling case from the rack over their heads, and set it on the floor. Will you carry it off the train for me, he said. She stood up and tugged at it. It's too heavy, she said. Yes, he said. And it would be a pretty poor father who would ask his little girl to carry such a load. It's the same point Corrie with knowledge. Some knowledge is too heavy for children. When you are older and stronger, you can bear it. For now, you must trust me to carry it for you. Our children's innocence is worth protecting. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Matt Giffen. I live in Murfreesboro. This is my 3rd time making comment at one of these meetings. Hopefully I won't have to do it again. I really don't enjoy leaving my wife and daughter at home to attend these things. None of us who are here for the sake of protecting kids from inappropriate material really want to be here. We want to be home with our families, but we're here nonetheless. We have a duty to our children and the children of this community. It's a duty we don't take lightly. And I sincerely hope this board, the only people in this room who have the power to do anything about these materials, is also serious about this. Members of the board, don't lose heart. Don't waver in courage. Don't be afraid of all the noise and craziness that happens in this room, and make no mistake, it is confined only to this room, despite what you heard tonight. Get rid of these books. Keep your bed. This is not about mere differences. We all know this. There's no amount of argumentation that I can give here tonight that's going to change anybody's minds on this. We're all made up in our own opinions. All I can say is, may God be with you. Continue to be in our prayers. The Lord is on the side of those who protect the vulnerable, even in this small way. So may God bless you and keep you, and continue to pray.
That's the first thing I have to say. I read on your website that the Rutherford County Library System is a government agency, which leads me to the question, what is the role of government? And that's a question that's been debated forever. So, basically, Cicero and our founding fathers, who based the template for this republic on his works, they decided that the number one role of government is to protect its citizens. That's the number one role of government, to protect its citizens. Who are the most vulnerable citizens? The children. Right? It is our job to protect children. Nobody would argue that. I can't imagine this room would be full of people that were on the side of making alcohol and tobacco available for our youngest citizens. We would all be in one accord, right? But we're here today with a struggle over how to protect our children. And I'm here to tell you that struggle is not between people wearing white shirts and people wearing purple shirts. It's not between people holding a flag with a cross on it or a flag with a rainbow on it. Our fight, our struggle is spiritual. Our struggle is with spiritual wickedness in high places. If you love books and you like to read, I would highly recommend that you read a book called Return of the Gods. It will explain what this whole argument is about. And when you start to learn the people in ancient times who worshiped Moloch and Ishtar, when you read that and you understand how they worship, you can see it all among us. Now, I 100% defend an adult's right to make their own mistakes. Right? You make your mistakes as an adult, you pay whatever consequence it may be. By the way, my Bible says there's a way that seems right to a man, but the end is destruction. You might want to think about that. But we have to keep the children from stumbling. There was somebody spoke about all of the Christian workers.
Yes, sir.
All right, I will be quiet. I really need to. Thank
Good evening, my name is Lisa Pugh. That's
Sorry.
Everybody does that. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to be a voice for the children. My husband and I raised children in this community. We have grandchildren growing up here. We are all products of public schools and supporters of public libraries. We are Rutherford County taxpayers as well. But I'm not only here to speak for our children. I and many of us here are here to protect the children. I also want to thank this board and the staff for their careful review and removal or relocation of materials that are not age appropriate from the children's section of our community library. They can't buy alcohol or cigarettes. They certainly can't buy pornographic material. And they can't vote because their young minds are not mature enough to make those decisions. So mature reading materials should not be available in the children's section of our public library. Even the American Medical Association and the American Society of Plastic Surgeons have recently published that surgical interventions for children and teens seeking gender-related care, including hormone therapies and puberty-blocking drugs, should be deferred until patients are adults. Keep in mind, the American Medical Association is the nation's largest physicians group. Maybe if my
Please
generation
don't
had
interrupt.
not been asleep or silent these last few decades, we would not have to be here now. But we will no longer be silent, while others try to sexualize the children. I will say that parents have the direct responsibility to raise and provide for their children, so they can give them the reading materials of their choosing. There are plenty of great age-appropriate options in the library, but I strongly recommend God's Word for truth and guidance. It's truly transformational and has helped me
to overcome several personal tragedies. As our Lord said relative to children in Matthew 18:6, whoever causes one of these little ones to stumble, it'd be better for them to have a millstone fastened around their neck and be drowned in the depth of the sea. If anyone wants to see what a millstone looks like, I think Canonsburg Village still has one over there. At last month's meeting, we heard many of the public commenters mocking those of us who are believers and who want to protect children as God directed us to do, and who know that the Bible is a living, breathing Word of God. Well, you can mock me as much as you want to. But God is sovereign, and He will not be mocked. Board members, I thank you for your courage and your dedication to protect the children, and I thank you for your time. God bless you.
Our next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. And the minutes are included in the board members' your packets, and they're also made available to you online.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Seconded.
Properly moved and seconded. Any objection? All in favor of approving minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You approve. Next item on the agenda is the officer reports, budget and finance. So our treasurer, Beth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a number of things to discuss with the board tonight. I want to thank again the administrative team, particularly David Coucher, who has been a great help in helping me learn our financial processes in our house. And so a couple of things. First off, I've been working with him on reformatting the budget sheets so that it's not so overwhelming. So I apologize that it took longer than planned to get the January and February financials out, but thanks to Ms. Elsa for getting those out last week. You have a condensed version in your packet that includes now a balance sheet, which I'm thankful for that because it has been eye-opening for us on a couple of things. And you also have the financial statements, the P&Ls for both January and February. Talking with David, we are right on budget. And we do expect, he's also helped provide a listing of when we will receive our next payments from our municipality. So thanks to him and all of the library staff for putting together this calendar, which includes that information as well. So we will receive our next installment of payments from Murfreesboro, Eagleville, and Rutherford County in April. So that will be a little bit of a boost to our balance sheet here shortly. Smyrna is, just for the board's knowledge, Smyrna provides payment twice a year. The other three provide quarterly. There's a motion to approve the January and February financial statements.
You can make that motion.
Oh, I'd like to make a motion to approve the January and February financial statements. Second.
Not seeing motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we will vote. All in favor of accepting the reports as presented, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? I have good news. In reviewing the balance sheet, there appears to be a money market and a CD that have been sitting in our balance for a number of years, waiting for a rainy day. And I think Miss Allison would say there's no rainier day, well, not today because it's beautiful, but last night for sure.
And thank goodness the winds blew in a different direction and didn't take the rest of the roof off in Smyrna for us. So if you will, I don't know if you can, again, this is small, I apologize, we're still working on the formatting. But on the balance sheet, there is an account with, let me get my information out here, with Heritage Bank, that has a balance of 123,852-ish, based on the last statement that we received. And those funds are designated for Smyrna. There's also in that Heritage account, half of that is also designated for Linebaugh. There's also a Pinnacle account that has approximately $218,562 that is designated for Linebaugh. And David and I spent some time last week talking about kind of the genesis, like where did this money come from? How has it been sitting there for so long and not been used? Why didn't it get rolled into the fund balance recovery that the municipalities requested last year? The history of the accounts is still a little bit nebulous. Mindy, I know you've been here for a while, and you're, and talking to David is a little, yeah, they've been around for a long time. Since they were separate accounts, that's why they were not included in the fund balance give back. And I think the good news is that we know that they're now, and I don't know that based on our current budget conversations with our municipalities, though we still don't know yet what that final result will be, but we do have some urgent needs today, particularly in Smyrna. So it would be my recommendation that we roll both of these accounts into our general fund, close those accounts. There may be a little bit of fees that are the result as a part of moving them out of the existing CD and money market. And then we can talk about, when we get to Allison's portion, about how we use those funds. So if somebody, or can I make that motion? Do we do that? Or do I need to have somebody else make that motion?
No, you can make that motion.
Yeah, I would make a motion that we close out the Heritage account and the Pinnacle account and roll those into our general fund. That is, the Heritage account is a total of $342,414-ish, depending on what fees are and the actual account balance is the day of. And then the Pinnacle is $218,562.
I'll second that, and then I'd like discussion.
All right, so motion second. Go ahead.
So can we get some idea of what the fees would be for early withdrawal and how far ahead we would have to postpone this if the fees are significant? Do you have any idea what the fees are?
Yeah, David and I talked. He did not think that the fees were going to be significant, and he felt like he could do that pretty quickly.
Like fewer than 1,000?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
If for any reason he finds out when he starts this process, there are more, we can bring that back to the board.
Yeah, could we add that to the motion that if the fees are over a certain amount, $500 or the motion?
Sure.
And it comes back for
Yeah, I'm comfortable with making that amendment. Is 500 what you want to say that?
Any discussion about that? Where a comfort zone is? I just don't want us to just blow out some money just that if we waited a year since this money really has been sitting idle for a while, you know, would be improved. I think there's a certain point when that kind of changes.
Right, and I don't have any issue with, I mean, I absolutely agree with you. How we use some of that money, though, is urgent, and we could get to that a little bit later, but just,
I'm sure it's not, I think it'll probably be nominal, like, I have to do stuff like this a lot, but I think I might be comfortable saying 1,000, just so that we are not, it's gonna cost more than $1,000 if we delay the roof another month, if that makes sense, when you're looking at cost benefit ratios.
I'm going to withdraw the suggestion from my, leave it
To the original motion.
Yeah, to the original motion and the level heads of the budget committee.
All right. Any additional discussion, conversation, questions? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second to close the two accounts referenced and roll that money into our general fund. So without any further discussion, we will vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? So you adopt.
All right, number 3, I mentioned at our last meeting in February that I've been working with David on trying to modernize our bill pay process, and after conferring again with both the accountant and our auditor, David, our in-house accountant, is making a suggestion that we move to using QuickBooks Online. Currently, what's happening in terms of bill pay, once a week he sends me an AP report, and he's very good about breaking down what each of the payments are for. The report is divided by those items that they can pay electronically and those items that are paid by check. It is still overwhelming number of items that are paid by check. Our policy states currently, and we'll talk about policy changes for this in a minute, but our policy currently states that 2 officers are to sign those checks. What's happening is I'm approving the AP, and 2 employees who have signing rights on the account are signing the checks. That's our director and then Mindy Barrett. So technically, we're not following policy, but it has been a way to, don't close your ears, a way to make sure that we stay in good standing with our vendors. So allowing for electronic check processing will smooth out this process and again bring us into the modern era. There will be a few vendors that we will have to pay by check, but those are a handful versus a majority. Again, looking at different ways of doing that, we've looked at bill pay through Pinnacle, we've looked at ACH, and the recommendation of both the bookkeeper and then David, our accountant, is that we move to using QuickBooks Online through our accounting service. It will be about $100 a month, close to about $1,000 a year that will have to be an additional charge to our budget. But I think just again, from a ease of process, making this a much more professional and again, ease of process, that we should move to accept that recommendation. So I'd like to make a motion that we add this $1,000 cost to our budget to allow for online bill pay.
Second.
All right, seeing a motion and a second. Any additional discussion?
I think my question is, will this get us back in line with policy, or are we looking at changing policy? So, and then also, on top of that, is this something that we have input from the auditors on doing this? Those are my questions.
Yes, David did talk to the auditors, and the auditors are okay with Mindy and the director currently signing because I'm approving the AP. But we are still out of policy. So this does not put us back into policy. We will have to make some policy adjustments, which I've got those recommendations for tonight as well.
Are any additional questions, discussion?